What's the knock-on effect from a Paris Saint-Germain point of view then, Adam? Because the most obvious thing to say, and I'm sure the owners of Paris Saint-Germain are saying this as well, they now have to win the Champions League.
Yeah, well, they've got to win the French league first. They didn't win that. They didn't win that last season. I think there's several knock-on effects. The first one is they've got the best player in the world, and the impact of that for Mauricio Pochettino is obviously huge in terms of expectations. I think the expectation, they thought they'd won the transfer window before this. They now think they've won the lottery because, even last week, people were looking at PSG's business and thinking Sergio Ramos, Hakimi from Inter Milan, Donnarumma, Gini Wijnaldum, and then you add Messi on top of it into a squad that was already supremely talented and one of the most highly rated coaches in the world. And you almost think, how can it fail? I think there's a slight question mark about Pochettino. He didn't have a fantastic start in the second half of last season. I think his job at PSG is also fundamentally different to what we saw him do at Tottenham and Southampton, where it was all about working with young players who very much owed him for their breaks and for their development. And now you have ready-made superstars looking at him and basically saying, just make us win. You don't need to make us better. We're Messi, we're Neymar, we're Mbappe. Just make us win. And that's a very different challenge. It's not about culture and development. It's about success. And we also know, Zinedine Zidane is out of work at the moment. And we know that he is probably the most adept coach in world football at just, taking superstars and making them perform. So that's that will be an interesting dynamic over the next few months, how much Pochettino enjoys that. Because, we saw earlier in the summer, he did hold talks with Tottenham. Those who know him actually thought he was closer to joining Real Madrid this summer than Tottenham, despite those conversations. So that's going to be, probably a really definitive year coming up, not only for PSG in terms of their project about wanting to win the Champions League, but also what kind of manager is Mauricio Pochettino?
And the other thing that comes into all of this is just looking at it from a football point of view, Adam. But as we all know, Paris Saint-Germain at times have been a circus already. And as James will evidently explain from a Juventus point of view, when Cristiano Ronaldo joined there, the circus is just going to get an awful lot bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think one of the interesting things from Juventus's point of view is that, the debate is still open as to whether that deal has actually worked out from a commercial point of view, but also on the pitch, because progressively Juventus have got worse as they've moved away from being a collective to being a team that is ultimately built around one individual and doesn't always align with the coaching choices that they make. Because, I think fans these days, they look at coaches and they want a coach that plays attractive football, high pressing football. That is always on the agenda. And yet, often that just doesn't coalesce with teams that are built around a massive individual, and that's been the case with Cristiano. I think the thing with PSG is they've already lived through this with Zlatan, with Neymar, with Messi. They're all going to put all these individuals together. It's been quite curious, actually, looking back at the MSN at Barcelona, where that front three did actually work together. It was almost like you didn't need a midfield. It was like you needed a defense and you needed that attack. You just not punted it long, but just got it to Messi, and those guys figured it out, and it was irresistible. So it's going to be, it's a real big challenge. I mean, it must be very exciting for Pochettino, having gone from some transfer windows at Spurs where he knew he was not going to get anything, or he'd have to wait until the absolute last minute.
Are you suggesting there's a contrast between Daniel Levy and the owners of Paris Saint-Germain?
I mean, it's just staggering. I mean, and also,
James, I also think we mentioned Gini Wijnaldum here, who was the first one in this summer at Paris Saint-Germain, and all the indications were for about 6 months that he was going to Barcelona. And can you imagine him now thinking, "Oh my God, what a close shave that was."
Yeah. But as Adam has said, and Jack reported at the time, Poch, seriously swayed by the idea of going back to Spurs earlier in this window. It's football is an absolute, football bloody hell, as Sir Alex said. It's just absolutely mad.
It must be a party and a half in Madrid, isn't there, Dermot?
Yeah, everybody in Madrid is very happy to see what's going on at Barcelona for sure. There still is a big hope that they're going to sign Kylian Mbappe. He's on the front page of the Spanish sports press again here this early this week, because they kind of think that maybe those financial fair play rules that I was talking about are going to catch up on PSG, and at some stage they're going to have to let Mbappe go, or that Mbappe just won't let Mbappe go this summer, or that Mbappe just won't sign a contract and they'll be able to get him for free next year. That remains to be seen. Another thing that Madrid are happy about is that their own financial situation is not so great. It's not as bad as Barcelona's for sure, but they haven't spent a penny in the transfer market this summer. And, barring some miracle with Mbappe, they're not going to either. They're still trying to move out some players. So if the focus is on Barcelona, that's good for them. One thing to pick up on what the guys were saying there about Pochettino is that Argentinian link and the South American link that's at Paris Saint-Germain looks super useful for signing Messi. I don't have super insight on the decision process. I guess money is the most important reason why Leo and his dad Jorge decided to go to PSG. But Pochettino seems more likely just to be able to understand Messi, because he's such a difficult character. He's had, for coaches to manage, for people around the club to keep him happy, has been a huge challenge at Barcelona. To keep him, he's very sensitive. Doesn't really speak to people, even with Laporta at the weekend. The conversations with the president as he left the club were all via text message. They didn't even, have a face-to-face chat. Pochettino, coming from the same part of Argentina as Messi, should be a help in that, and just getting the communication there, being able to talk to him, and also having Di Maria and Neymar there who know him well and who are friends, you'd imagine would make it easier for Messi to fit in, because we saw him on Sunday at the Camp Nou in tears and looking so affected by leaving Barcelona. He just didn't want to go. He didn't want to uproot his family. It was going to be difficult for him to settle in at any new club, but with those people around him at Paris, it might make it a little bit easier.
Again, to just riff on Poch, he's maybe uniquely placed to deal with this situation, given the ties that he may have with the abundance of Argentines. Even Paredes has gone and won the Copa America. Verratti has won the Euros. Wijnaldum's there. They've got a very good midfield. We can maybe discuss another day about how balanced this team is. But this is the biggest year in the history of this project the Qataris have got. Not only for what Adam said about the World Cup in 2022, but also it's the 10th anniversary of them investing. And at the time, I remember Nasser Al-Khelaifi saying, when they signed Javier Pastore as the poster boy of this project, that we do not need to sign a Messi. We are going to find the next Messi, the other Messis. And ultimately, it's come full circle, and they've realized that it takes a Messi. It takes a Messi to deliver what the Qataris want. So, that I think the timing of this, all that just adds, I think, to the pressure on Pochettino. So it'll be fascinating to see how he manages that over however long he gets.
Do you think as well? There's been a lot of talk the last few days about, is it a sideways step? Is it a backwards step for Messi to take? I do think that all that pressure that we're describing around the expectations upon PSG, the fact they haven't won a Champions League, the fact that he's gone to a club owned by Qatar means he'll almost certainly give us one more World Cup now, which gives another challenge for him to look forward to, in 18 months' time in Qatar. And PSG are a better team than Barcelona. They have a better coach. His chances of winning another Champions League are far higher at Paris Saint-Germain than they would be at Barcelona. Barcelona haven't really come close. They've not won it for, 6 years now, Dermot? Since they won the Champions League?
Yep, since Neymar left, they haven't come close to winning it. The closest they got was the semi-finals. They got hammered by Liverpool with Wijnaldum. So
so they've been battered by Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and
Roma
and PSG the last few years, and pretty handsomely. And Messi was on the pitch each time and felt that and experienced that, and then having to deal with all this politics off the pitch. And maybe yes, he's very emotional on Sunday when he's saying goodbye, but there might be part of him just thinking, might have a better chance of winning stuff here.
I don't understand the sideways backward step. I mean, what are people? Where are people expecting him to go? I mean, is this the age-old Guardiola argument? Let's see if if he took over Swindon. Let's see if he could take them to Premier League. I mean, is that what people are? Where are people expecting Messi to go?
Well, I've seen just sort of a lot of, I mean, this is just social media noise really, but stuff like, it's such a boring move. Of all the moves he could have done, why has he gone there? Why hasn't he gone somewhere more interesting? But really, I mean, is it any more boring than Bayern Munich signing all of Borussia Dortmund's best players, for example, year in, year out, or things like, or Manchester City signing Aston Villa's best player? I'm not really sure where people thought he could go, unless people expect him to take a 90% pay cut rather than a 50% pay cut. I mean, it's still pretty extraordinary figures involved. But the only club that could do the deal this summer really were PSG. There wasn't a battle. There wasn't, when this all broke on Thursday, the only club that really went in were PSG. I mean, PSG were really worried that Chelsea might move. There was some very, very odd speculation in South America that Tottenham had made a phone call. But again, I mean, even if they have, people were mocking this, and it's like, well, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you just have a call, see if he does fancy that equivalent of Guardiola going to Swindon, and see whether you can take Tottenham to UEFA Conference League glory in your first season in England. But I don't know where people expected him to go. Manchester City weren't in for him this summer. Manchester United had done their business. Arsenal can't afford him. Liverpool can't afford him. Can't go to Real Madrid. Bayern Munich weren't in. Juventus have no money. Inter Milan are broke. This is where he's going.
Yeah.
The Premier League is back, and The Athletic is home to the biggest football podcast network in the world. My podcast with Mark Chapman is becoming The Athletic Football Podcast, and there'll be 3 shows a week on that feed. Then there's the usual Totally Football show with James Richardson, Raphael Honigstein, James Horncastle, and the gang. We also have a range of dedicated club shows featuring the likes of James Pearce, Amy Lawrence, and Phil Hay. Check them out for all the latest transfer news and updates from your team. Michael Cox and Tom Warville will showcase their unrivaled analytics knowledge on the Athletic Tactics podcast, while Adam Hurrey's hilarious football cliches is now going twice a week. You've got all things WSL on the Athletic Women's Football podcast. Take your fantasy football team to a new level with the Athletic FPL podcast, and go further down the English pyramid with the Totally Football League show. So buckle up, as we've got big plans for the new season. Listen to all our shows for free in all the usual places, and ad-free when you subscribe to The Athletic.